And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome aboard. I'm National Weather Service Meteorologist Peter Chan with your Alaska Marine Weather Outlook on this Saturday, May 10th, 2025. And we start with the state of the sea ice, and we are having rapid melting occurring across the Bering Sea and up along areas of the west coast. The ice is really just deteriorating here rather quickly as we approach the middle portion of May. And there is going to be a stronger area of low pressure crossing the Aleutians Sunday morning. This low will deepen down to around 975 millibars and be located just west-northwest of St. Paul as we get into the day, especially late Sunday night, Monday. And the circulation around that, I'll show you the wind field, but that's going to probably only serve to help agitate and melt off that ice a bit quicker as well. Looking at the surface weather map late tonight, early Sunday morning, we have a ridge of high pressure nudging up into the western half of the Gulf, southern mainland. This feature will nudge over to the east on Sunday. It's going to set up a very warm day over areas of south central, especially south of the Alaska Range, Copper River Basin, Anchorage Bowl, and the Mat-Su Valleys. Western Kenai will likely see a number of areas hit or exceed 60 degrees. Rain showers will begin to let up across the Panhandle on Sunday as this low crosses the central Aleutians and continues to deepen as it moves up toward the central Bering. This cold front along the Arctic coast will progress southeastward, pushing some colder air. A little bit of light snow, but some gusty winds could cause blizzard conditions at times up there along the eastern Beaufort Sea coast tonight into Sunday afternoon. And for Sunday afternoon, we find conditions drying out in the Panhandle, especially northern half, and there could still be an isolated shower in the far south. But this ridge of high pressure just giving a superlative day here across areas of the interior, along the Alaska Range, down through Anchorage, the Kenai Peninsula, and along the northern northwestern Gulf Coast. A lot of sunshine and warm afternoon temperatures. But here's this low deepening to 980 millibars once it passes north of the Aleutians Sunday afternoon. And it has a broad circulation around it. It's going to spread this front northeastward with some gusty winds and rain pushing up along and inland of the southwest coast, as well as eventually pushing out into the western Gulf as we get into Monday. The thing is, as this we get into later Sunday night and Monday morning, as this front approaches, we have increasing southeast southerly winds. There is a high surf advisory in effect for the Kuskokwim River Delta for early Monday morning into early Monday afternoon as a result of these gusty winds along that front. By Monday afternoon, though, the front pushes inland with areas of rain extending up into south central, especially along south of the Alaska Range. Up in the mountains, higher elevations, it'll be a wet snow. But you can see a 979 millibar low just sitting and spinning there out in the central Bering Sea for Monday afternoon. Cold air up into the northwest Canada will continue heading southeastward. And for the marine forecast for the southeast Panhandle, inner channels, northwest winds, Stevens Passage, Lynn Canal, waves a couple of feet there on Sunday. Ketchikan, Metlakatla, east winds 10 knots, waves maybe a couple feet. And then along the outer coast outside of Icy Strait Corridor from Gustavus running down to Sitka and Craig, northwest winds of 15 knots, and then kind of a mixed bag of winds there outside of Yakutak Bay to 10 knots. And on Monday, we find winds northwesterly here down in Dixon Entrance around Ketchikan and Metlakatla, waves 3 feet. South winds 15 to 20 knots. Stevens Passage to Lynn Canal, waves 3 to 4 feet. The outer coast pretty much generally westerly component to the wind, Sitka south to Craig at 15 to 20 knots. More southerly winds up toward pushing up toward Yakutat, and then easterly winds off of Cape Suckling with waves as high as 7-8 feet there. Now on Sunday for the northwest portion of the Gulf, variable winds outside of Hinchinbrook Entrance, 10 knots, waves a few feet. West winds 10 knots within Prince William Sound. Variable winds upper Cook Inlet. South-southwest winds for middle and southern Cook Inlet there, 15 to 20 knots. Waves 3 to 5 feet. And then Monday, look for easterly winds within Prince William Sound, 15 knots, 3-foot waves. South-southeast winds outside of Hinchinbrook Entrance to 20 knots and waves 6-7 feet. As we get down along the anchor point down, especially out through the lower portion of Cook Inlet, northeast of Kodiak Island, southwest winds 20 to 25 knots, with waves generally running right around 5 to perhaps as high as 6-7 feet. And across Kodiak Island on Sunday, southwest winds 20 knots, but those winds become southeasterly in advance of the frontal system that's associated with the low out in the Bering. As that front works its way up along the Alaska Peninsula, we're looking at, on the North Pacific side, southeast winds of 25 to 30 knots from Chicknick down to off of False Pass. But we're looking at 35-knot southeasterly gales from Bristol Bay down to north of Cold Bay. And then on Monday, winds generally go southwesterly across the region. Southwest winds 30 knots in the vicinity of Kodiak Island, and those winds continue southwesterly 25-30 knots as we trail out along the Alaska Peninsula. Waves could be as high as 16 feet off of False Pass and as high as 11 feet north of Cold Bay. For the Aleutians, as the low pressure pushes northward, as I said, it's going to be located just west there of St. Paul or near St. Paul. Ahead of it, southeast winds 40-knot gales across the eastern Aleutians on Sunday. That's pretty good wind for this time of year to have a low of that, bottoming out around 975 millibars with 40-knot gales. And then those winds shift westerly, Atka through Adak, and then more west-northwesterly as you get west of Adak through Kiska and Shemya. Look for west-northwest winds of 30 knots. Then on Monday, we still have gale force winds across the eastern and central Aleutians, southwesterly gale force winds of 35 knots on Alaska through just east of Adak, and then once we get west of Adak, west to northwest winds 25 to 30 knots. And here on Sunday afternoon, you can see that low circulation near St. Paul, just west of there. So winds ahead of it, ahead of the front that's going to be pushing up here along the southwest coast will be southeast to easterly. 30 knots southeast winds within Bristol Bay, easterly 35-knot gales within Kuskokwim Bay. Those winds are going to shift more southeast and south as that front rides northward Sunday night and a Monday morning. And that's why this area, especially along Kuskokwim Bay, Kwagilingak on over toward Kipnik, will see high surf. There's a high surf advisory for early Monday morning through early Monday afternoon. Wave run up could be a foot or two higher than the normal highest tide. And then as we head further off to the west, we have 35-knot easterly gales in the vicinity of St. Paul, southeast winds of 30 knots in the Pribilovs, and then along the lower Yukon coast and within Norton Sound, northeast to east winds of 20 knots. And on Monday, we have a continuation with that low just sitting and spinning in the central portion of the Bering. South winds into Bristol Bay at 25 knots, south winds into Kuskokwim Bay to 30 knots. We have southwesterly 35-knot gales in the vicinity of the Pribilovs with waves up to 16 feet. St. Matthew may see 40-knot northeasterly gales and 13-foot waves on Monday. And then for along the lower Yukon coast and up into Norton Sound, look for southeast to east winds of 25 to 30 knots. The ice is really going to shift and move around. That's going to help agitate and melt it off, I would imagine, even faster because there is some, the air coming up to the north here from the lower southeast corner of the Bering will tend to be a bit milder. And then north side of St. Lawrence Island, west side of the Seward Peninsula on Sunday, northeast winds 20 to 25 knots where you have openings in the ice, 3-4 foot waves. Lower Chukchi Sea, northerly winds at 15 knots. Get up north of Point Lay, Wainwright to Utqiagvik, look for northwest winds 15 knots, but winds of 25 to 30 knots along the Beaufort Sea coast, Prudhoe Bay to Kaktovik, and there'll still be a blizzard warning in effect for the area around Kaktovik, at least into the afternoon hours on Sunday. And for Monday, winds are going to finally come down there across the far north. And once that front passes, winds turn more north and even easterly, 10 to 15 knots along the Beaufort Sea coast. As we drop down Wainwright to Point Lay and Cape Lisburne, east to northeast winds of 25 to 30 knots. And then out of Kotzebue Sound through the Bering Strait, we're generally looking at easterly winds of 25 knots on Monday. And on the north side of St. Lawrence Island, especially in the vicinity of Gamble, we could be looking at on Monday, easterly gales of 35 knots.